What is going on, guys, and welcome back to Touchdowns to Home Runs. My name is Bernie. Thank you for joining us today on the Touchdowns to Home Runs show. Hope that your day is going absolutely fantastic. The ATP Tour is filled with a lot of young, bright stars, and the men's side of the sport should be in very good hands, even when the sad day does come in which none of Djokovic, Nadal, or Federer are still playing on the ATP Tour. With that being said, there's three players in particular that were mentioned by Novak Djokovic in the late part of June, which were Medvedev, Zverev, and Tsitsipas, none of who have secured a major title, but three players who surely will be in the mix for years to come. So today we'll be breaking down the success that each of these three players has had to this point in their career, sort of what I've seen in terms of their play styles and what they need to improve on, and then we'll try to come to a prediction of which of these players I think will be the first to win a major title. As always though, before we do get into today's video, if you guys do enjoy this type of content, please do me a huge favor, smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to Touchdowns to Home Runs for more content just like this. But anyways, let's get into the video, and I want to get it started with Daniil Medvedev, the current ATP number 2, and during the current hard court season is surely one of the most intriguing players to be watching. Medvedev did have recent struggles in both the grass and clay court seasons, but is in the midst of a year where he was the runner-up at the Australian Open, and with his win yesterday in Toronto, now has 3 titles in 2021 and 4 Masters 1000 titles over the course of his career. When we look at Medvedev, there's a few things that really stand out that really make him as successful as he has been to this point in his career. Number one is his great first serve. As we'll get into a little later, Medvedev can often struggle winning points behind the second serve, but in terms of his first serve, he can be extremely dominant. We saw it a couple of times in Toronto, particularly that match against Hurkacz, but Medvedev is able to serve himself at a very tricky situations, and it can then allow him to focus more on that great return to serve, which leads us with a great transition into point number 2, which is that fantastic return to serve. Over the last 52 weeks, Medvedev has the 4th best return rating on tour, which is only behind Nadal, Schwartzman, and Novak Djokovic. And then number 3 are the tremendous rallying skills. Medvedev really has a complete game when you look at it as a whole, but he's a terrific baseline player who knows how to extend rallies and is also very good with his court movement. I think in order for Medvedev to take that next step in order to be a Grand Slam champion, he's going to need to no doubt improve his winning percentage behind that second serve. Has a tendency to not only double fault, but also fall behind in points in the second serve. And I've seen matches where he's been, in the 40% in terms of winning behind that second serve. So again, need to find consistency, overall improve that. But with all of this being said, it's no question that he is developing into one of the best stars on the ATP Tour. And I think his best chances definitely come on the hard court at either the Australian Open or US Open. And I think the US Open in a couple of weeks now will be a great telltale of sort of where Medvedev is at. But I definitely do think that he could potentially be the biggest threat to beating Novak Djokovic at that upcoming US Open as well. I want to move on now to Alex Zverev, and this is a player who has really surprised me all season, and his ability to assert himself as a real threat to dominate on all 3 of the surfaces, whether it's clay, grass, or on the hard court. Although Zverev only ranks number 7 this year in year-to-date wins, he already has 3 titles to his name in 2021, which includes a Masters 1000 title in Madrid and a gold medal, of course, in the Tokyo Games. Zverev is tied with Medvedev, having won 4 Masters 1000 titles over the course of his career, but leads all 3 of these players that we're talking about in today's video in career titles. He's won 14 total titles over the course of his career. Zverev is a really, really tricky player to play against, especially in Grand Slam play. Not only is he a terrific baseline player and has a very solid backhand, but he's also very good with his court movement and athleticism, and is one of the best sort of players in terms of being built for Grand Slams, given that tremendous endurance. And we've seen that endurance in some of the marathon matches that he has played in the Grand Slams. The biggest thing that I would say holding Zverev back is really no surprise, but it's that consistency on serve. He's not a, terrible hitter. He has the tools to be a good server, whether that's first or second, but he is 3rd on tour in double faults and can often rack up high numbers in that category. Through all of this, though, it definitely appears that Zverev is knocking on the door of having a real breakthrough. He's been great in 1000s. He's been great in some of the bigger tournaments. Just needs to find that consistency at the Grand Slams. But I think he's got a real shot very soon. And what Zverev has working in his favor again is not only the experience and success that he has had at some of the bigger tournaments, but particularly, his success that he's had on all three different courts. So Zverev is a guy, who really has a chance at all four Grand Slams, and that's why I think, he's definitely got a real shot at being the first here. But before we get to our prediction, we still have one more player to cover, which is, of course, Stefanos Tsitsipas. And aside from a rough grass season and a slow start to the resumption of the hard court season, he's had a terrific 2021 campaign. He remains the ATP leader on tour in year-to-date wins, which includes the likes of 2 titles this year to his name, and actually did come the closest to winning a Grand Slam, where he was up 2-0 on Novak Djokovic in the French Open earlier on this year. What's really impressive about Stefanos has been his improvement in certain aspects of his game, including the effectiveness that he's had on serve, his ability to extend rallies, and the improvement that he's had overall in terms of his mentality. With that being said, Tsitsipas ranks number 5 on tour in the past 52 weeks in percentage of second serve points won. He's also a very good baseline player with a very solid forehand, and not only is he athletic, but he moves around the court very well. Again, ability to extend rallies. The biggest thing that I would say for Tsitsipas, in my opinion, is just finding consistency. He can often make untimely errors, unforced errors. We definitely saw that in Toronto. I had the honor to be able to go and watch a Tsitsipas match this past week against Humbert. Again, errors, untimely errors, big thing for Tsitsipas. But again, the jumps that he's taken over the course of the past few years are a great sign, and he's no doubt going to get another opportunity and more opportunities in the near future, whether that's French Open, whether he figures it out on the hard court. Again, I think he's definitely got a great shot to win a major. I would love to see a bit more consistency, though, off the clay courts. The majority of his wins this year, the majority of his success this year did come in that clay court season, French Open, even before the French Open. But he does have the ability to be good on all courts. He's, in my opinion, has one of the most well-rounded games on the entire tour, and I think his breakthrough is definitely near coming. In terms of the prediction on which of these 3 players I think has the best shot to win their first Grand Slam, it's honestly extremely tough to make this prediction because you have 3 players who have all been runner-ups in Grand Slams. But if I did have to take a shot in the dark, I would probably lean toward Medvedev, saying that his best shot would be at the US Open, especially because, if you're staying in the Novak Djokovic era, that's probably the most beatable time, because Djokovic, his worst times in the years have tended to be either at the Olympics and then the US Open. He's got the worst record in finals, I think. But yeah, I mean, you could easily say that it's Zverev coming off a gold medal in the Tokyo Games. He was also a former finalist at the US Open, so he's obviously a tremendous hardcore player. And then I think, the momentum would shift into Tsitsipas's favor if you move into next season. Let's say Djokovic wins the US Open, and then all of a sudden, Tsitsipas potentially in the clay court season. But again, I still think he's definitely a player who could be extremely solid on the hard courts if he does find that consistency. So none of these players would be a surprise. I would lean Medvedev, though. But yeah, you guys can let me know your thoughts, comments, and predictions on this topic down in the comment section below. If you did enjoy today's video, let me know down in the comment section below again, and let me know by smashing a thumbs up button and subscribing to Touchdowns to Home Runs for more content just like this. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys again next time.